Cat. There you go. Perfect timing.
Hey everybody, Eric Grenier here, and Philippe J. Fournier is joining me, and we're here for the Ontario provincial by-elections in KANATA-CARLETON and Scarborough-GUILDWOOD. Philippe, how are you doing tonight?
Good evening.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you double, so I'm gonna have to hang on here. What's going on? Hey, good evening, Eric. How are you? Okay, I got it.
Well, there's always
Yes,
a few
I can.
hiccups. And if you're there in the comments section, let us know if you can hear us and we sound okay and all that kind of stuff, because we don't know it for sure. There's always a few little gremlins at the start. So, yes, we're here for... I'm sorry, are you still having issues with the sound, Philippe?
I hear with a 7-second delay or something. 7-second delay or something.
Oh, no. Okay. I'm not sure what happened, because we were just chatting before the start and everything was okay. So that's not terrific.
Everything goes well.
Okay.
Should I leave and come back?
I don't know. Can you read lips, maybe?
for 2 hours?
Yeah, I don't know about that. Okay, wait. I'm not sure why you would be hearing me double. Everything is... We literally were doing okay just before this. So
I'll come back, all right?
do you have the YouTube channel on? Is this it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right.
I
So
don't.
Philippe might come back and then so I'll set things up. All right.
Okay, I close everything. Oh, it works.
Is it okay now?
It is okay now. Absolutely. Sorry, people. I don't know what happened. How are you, Eric?
I'm good. I'm good now. Now you know that this is live, that we don't do this, that we don't record it. Yeah. Okay. So it does seem like people are saying that things are okay, that they can hear us and all that kind of stuff. So why don't I just give a little bit of an intro of what we're doing tonight. So this is for the Ontario provincial by-elections in KANATA-CARLETON and Scarborough-GUILDWOOD. The polls just closed there. And as you can see on the left, I have the Elections Ontario webpage, and they do have the results here. So we're going to wait and see when this refreshes, but now we have it right there. So these are two by-elections. KANATA-CARLETON was Merrilee Fullerton. She was a minister in Doug Ford's government. She was there as a long-term care and seniors minister during the pandemic, so she got a lot of pushback, a lot of blowback from that whole thing. She stepped aside not long after the last election. And then Scarborough-GUILDWOOD, that was Mitzie Hunter, a Liberal MPP. She ran for the mayor of Toronto. Didn't go very well, but she did give up the seat. And so that's where we're going to be watching tonight, if the PCs can hold on to KANATA-CARLETON and the Liberals can hold on to Scarborough-GUILDWOOD. Philippe, what are you most curious about tonight?
Well, the thing is, I would be very surprised if Scarborough goes to the PC, although with the polls that we had, and we know that sometimes with by-elections, funny things can happen. I expect the Liberals to keep Scarborough. It would be a surprise if not. KANATA-CARLETON, well, as you know, as we said off air, it's been almost a century since the Liberals
exactly 100 years ago, 1923.
Exactly 100 years. So
and it wasn't even the Liberals; it was the United Farmers.
The United Farmers. Yeah, okay. Another time. But could the Liberals take this? I mean, they have the right candidate to take this away from the PC, but still, usually in those ridings, when you have a century of history, so the most boring thing that could happen, it's the most likely thing, I think. The Liberals keep on to Scarborough and the PCs keep Canada, but we'll see if there are any surprises. It's possible.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why I especially wanted to do these, you would look at these two ridings, you'd be like, Liberals have held Scarborough for, I think, what is it, since 2003, and the PCs, as I mentioned, since 1923. It's because in KANATA-CARLETON, the Liberals are running Karen McCrimmon, who was the Liberal MP there. She was elected in 2015, 2019. She decided not to run again in 2021. She had some health issues. She says she's okay now, so that she wants to get back into it. And then in Scarborough-GUILDWOOD, the PCs have a candidate, Gary Crawford, who is a city councillor for Scarborough, not for Scarborough-GUILDWOOD itself. It's for Scarborough Southwest, but he's well known in the area. So these are star candidates in a low turnout by-election. That's why I think that it could be the kind of riding that both of them could flip. And you could have the weird thing that happens where the Liberals win KANATA-CARLETON and the PCs are able to flip Scarborough-GUILDWOOD, and then I don't think we have a narrative.
No, we don't, absolutely, except that by-elections can be funny. And, you know, the turnout in Ontario in the recent general election was really low. Will Ontario voters go out tonight? I mean, we saw that the early turnout was very low, single digits. So when we have a low turnout, it's the most motivated to go to vote. So I see that Miss Hunter, I'm just looking at the numbers now. She won by 15 points last time around. So this is a good margin for the Liberals, especially in a bad election.
Yeah, in 2018, though, it was super close. It was a couple dozen votes, I think, that separated the two. But yeah, both of these ridings, you look at KANATA-CARLETON, it was about 19 points over the NDP. But we are starting to get our first results. And these are going to come in pretty quickly because Ontario uses a tabulator. So the results get counted pretty quick. When I did the Hamilton Centre one earlier this year, it only lasted an hour. So we got some results for KANATA-CARLETON. We only got 2 polls out of 53. But it's starting out kind of interesting. We got Sean Webster of the PCs. He's leading with 41%, 123 vote margin over Karen McCrimmon. And Melissa Conrad of the NDP is at 27%, not too far behind. But KANATA-CARLETON is a big, expansive riding. It's to the west of Ottawa. So it includes the town or the city part of Ottawa that's Canada. That's where the Senators play. There's lots of people who live there, lots of commuters who work in elsewhere in Ottawa, work in the tech sector that's in there. But then it also includes a lot of rural area. Ottawa is this huge, huge city where a huge amount of it is just empty, not empty, but it's farmland. It's not a lot of people. And those areas vote pretty strongly for the PC. So that'll be one of the things to watch, because right now we're just watching. Just right now, Melissa Conrad of the NDP has moved ahead of the PC. So this is actually turning out to be a 3-way race right from the beginning.
Look at that. Wow.
And also for Scarborough, look at this. Yeah, Scarborough, we got 590 votes for Andrea Hazel and 449 for Thadsa Nevanethan of the NDP and 433 for Gary Crawford. So, hey, what if we get 2 3-way races? Maybe this will be longer than an hour.
And we barely mentioned the NDP in our intro. Sorry, Dippers. We didn't mean anything wrong, but I mean, it would be a huge surprise if the NDP can take any of those. So let's be realistic here.
Yeah, because in the last election. So why don't we just quickly? I do have the results as well in the show description. You can go look at them from last time. But in KANATA-CARLETON, the PC's at 44%, the NDP at 24%, and the Liberals at 23%. The Greens at 5.5%, and then in Scarborough-Guildwood, the Liberals had 46%, the PC's at 31.5%, and the NDP at 17%. So the NDP is not really a factor in either of these ridings, or at least it normally wouldn't be. And we would probably say the same thing for the Liberals if it wasn't for the fact they had Karen McCrimmon, who is a well-known person in that riding.
Which is interesting because, you really have to have politics in your blood for Miss McCrimmon to go in there, because this is really, I know she won it at the federal level, but this is really not a good riding for her if she wants to go into Ontario politics. So if she pulls this off, it would be a huge win for the OLP. And good news for them in a time when they only have 8 seats, and they're looking for a new leader. And so I've already seen some people are asking some questions in the comments. We'll try to get to them. As I said, this is actually going to go pretty quick, I think. So maybe once we get more results, we'll have a bit more time to... So far, it's impressive compared to the federal ones that we did in June. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, we've already got 20% reporting. But I just saw one question about John Turmel, and of course he is running. Where is he running? He is... I saw him somewhere. Where was he? There he is. He's at the bottom. He's got 5 votes in Scarborough.
5 votes. There you go. Family.
Yeah. John Turmel is he's one of the characters on these podcasts, on these live streams. He's just there in all of these by-elections. So right now we got some really interesting results because we're talking about KANATA-CARLETON. We got 34% for Karen McCrimmon. We got 33% for Melissa Conrad and 29% for Sean Webster of the PC. So this is a 3-way race. The NDP's results are actually pretty good, huh? Pretty good.
Yeah.
She is actually well known now because this is the 4th time she's running in the riding as a New Democrat. She ran in the 2019 federal. She ran in the 2021 federal. She ran in the 2022 provincial, and now she's running again. Melissa Conrad on an NDP red sign is something that people in KANATA-CARLETON are pretty used to.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Wow. again, you have to have politics in your blood to keep doing those campaigns. I mean, I know I'm a sore loser when I play anything. So losing an election over and over, I know it would get to me at some point. I'm not made for politics. So.
I mean, it is impressive people who are running.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, NDP and KANATA-CARLETON, not exactly good area for them, and to just keep putting your name forward, it is impressive that you take one for the team. I guess every party needs to have candidates up there. So, but she's given a good show right now. She's already got 3,500 votes. She's 27 votes up on Karen McCrimmon and less than 300 votes up on Sean Webster. This is a close race.
This is really a three-way race. Do we know if they count the early votes first? Do we know that? Because I know in Quebec they do that. I know it varies from place to place.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if they do. These are the tabulator ones, so technically I think they might, but they're already at 30% of the polls reporting. So I don't think the advanced polls would be that many of them, right?
Ready to call it? Ready to call it. All right, let's do it. No.
Ready to call this one? 27 vote margin?
I've seen enough.
Yeah. Scarborough-Guildwood, okay, so this one is a little bit less close. It's 503 votes right now for Andrea Hazel over Gary Crawford. So that's actually pretty good. If she can hold on to this, it was 15 points last time. She's currently leading by about 7. It just went down a little bit, but yeah, the NDP is putting up some decent numbers in these by-elections. Got to say, it's a pretty impressive showing for a party that hasn't been showing much at all.
Well, the leader has not been very in the news much. She's not been out there, but I know from speaking to many dippers in Ontario, she's really well liked by her team. So she's very popular within. Now, can she expand the base of the NDP? I mean, they did lose 800,000 votes in the last election compared to 2018. We'll have to wait and see, but I know she's very well liked by her own team. So, and this is a good start. You need that if you want to lead a party, right?
Yeah. Well, right now it's if the count stopped right now, the Liberals are having a good night because they would pick up KANATA-CARLETON and hold on to Scarborough-Guildwood. But I don't know, if you're the NDP, you'd probably be pretty happy with these results, that despite the fact that it's a by-election, it's not seen that the party is in a good position to win either of these seats. They're still getting 30%, 31% right now in KANATA-CARLETON, and they're getting 26% in the Scarborough-Guildwood.
Only 16.7% in Scarborough they did have at the general election. Interesting. Okay, this is a good outing so far.
Yeah, they had 27.6% of the vote in 2018, so that was high watermark for the NDP recently. So more or less matching that. And in KANATA-CARLETON they had 28.6%. So both of these candidates are at least matching that 2018 result for the NDP. So yeah, I think this is the shock so far. The turnout, if you're wondering. So this is going pretty well. We got 47% of the vote counted at KANATA-CARLETON, so halfway. Wow. And the turnout's 21.6, so that's not too bad when you're halfway through. I do think it counts up. I don't know if it's voter turnout for polls reporting, so that's not good.
Well, I think the rule of thumb, at least in Quebec, is a general election you divide by 2 for the by-election. It's usually around the 30s. It was 43% at the general election. If it's 22%, it would be poor, but it would be in line with that trend. So
yeah, right. Yeah. So right now, KANATA-CARLETON is 25%. In Scarborough, it is 12%.
I see questions in the feed about the Jean Talon. I mean, we'll get there at some point. I mean, this is a very interesting race. We'll talk about it for sure. But right now, we have a 3-way race in Canada. So
yeah. I think what we'll do, because the way this is going, this count will be done in about another 10 minutes. So then we can talk for a little bit while and answer some questions. There was one question that is related to it: why Hunter resigned. And whether it was because she was tired of I think she legitimately thought she had a chance to win the Toronto mayoralty, because at the time when she got in, or when she was talking about getting in, Olivia Chow wasn't going in. There wasn't any big name, right? She would have been one of the biggest names. So she had a path perhaps, and decided that, might as well give it a shot. But
she was elected in 2014, is that correct? Or
it was a by-election in 2013. Yeah.
Okay, so she did it a decade. She did single digits, right, in the mayoral election. Yeah. At some point, I think you want to call it quits. A decade in politics is pretty decent. But yeah, maybe she's had enough. I mean, I think people have to remember that being in politics, especially for women, we're two white guys, right? Especially for women, it's really hard on the soul. That's after a decade. I can understand that you would want to want out. So
yeah, and particularly women of color as well, as which is the case with Mitzie Hunter. Well, there is someone just suggesting that maybe she will run in place of John McKay. John McKay's the Liberal MP. He's been there forever. So who knows? But that is one of the interesting things, because John McKay, he was reelected in 2021, 61% of the vote. So it's remarkable how well the federal Liberals do, because they won KANATA-CARLETON with 42% in the last election. And it's just a solid PC seat at the provincial level. Okay, so
those Trudeau Ford seats.
Yeah. Well, those are one of the, like, this is one of those where there has to be some Ford Trudeau switches. Oh,
absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And it's still remaining very close. We've got 46 vote margin between Karen McCrimmon and Sean Webster, but it's less than 400 votes between first and third. This is a hell of a race right here. If you're the PCs though, look at the 514 votes for Jennifer Boudreau of the New Blue Party. I think right now you would like at least 47 of those.
Oh, boy. 2% of the vote. The Greens, 1% for the Greens. Oh, okay. This is...
Yeah, that is a little bit surprising. The Greens don't really do that well here, but they usually get like 5-7% of the vote.
And they had some decent polls in the recent months too. But
and they're also getting just 1% in Scarborough as well.
In a by-election, sometimes those small parties they get crushed because why bother for some people. I mean, I'm not of that opinion. I will always go vote, but some people would figure, okay, why bother? So
yeah. So these are so we got 60% of the vote now being counted in KANATA-CARLETON. It does matter where those votes are coming from, because the Kanata area does vote more for the Liberals. And then you have the outlying rural areas that vote more for the PCs. So if a lot of the vote that's come in is in the Kanata polls, that would be good for the Liberals, it'd be good for the NDP. But that we don't know. Unfortunately, we don't get updates on where the vote's coming from. Scarborough, it's not as big of a thing. If you look at the geography, the Liberals do a little bit better close to the lake. But it's an urban riding. There's a big mix of support across it. There's not like huge differences between them, but these are both three-way races. I'm really shocked by just how close both of these are.
If the OLP wins both, does it change the conversation in the coming months? I mean, we always overreact with by-elections. We know this, right? It's an overreaction, but it would change the conversation, especially with the leadership race coming up this fall.
Yeah. Because especially, I think if they were able to win KANATA-CARLETON, I think a lot of people would say they got a good candidate, and that's why they were able to win it. But if they also hold on to Scarborough-Guildwood, where they hold off a star candidate in Gary Crawford, it would give a little bit of life to a party that is getting a lot of attention because of the leadership race, but doesn't really deserve it. It's got 8 seats. It's tied with the NDP in most polls.
Yeah.
But these would be strong results for the party. These are not good results for the PCs, got to say. The PCs can't be too happy with both of these results right now.
30% in Scarborough and 32% in KANATA-CARLETON. Man, these votes are counted fast. I like this.
Yeah.
although in general election, I don't think I would like it. It would go by too fast. That would be...
When I've done the Ontario election nights, it's just an avalanche of results that come in, and then all of a sudden a party's got 60 seats where they're leading, and it's just it's just whiplash. I do like the slow approach when it's a lot of ridings, not when it's just one.
What is the perfect length for an election night on TV? I would say... When the media, the networks call it, I'd say like an hour or an hour and 15 minutes is enough.
Yeah, that would be all right. I like what they do in Great Britain, where they only start getting the results about like 8 hours after polls close.
There you go.
Because they finish counting in every riding before they report the results, which is just terrific. We got a question here that's very important, whether you're drinking rosé with ice in it.
I am drinking the same drink as I did when I did those by-elections in June alone. This time, I'm drinking cranberry soda and a little bit of vodka. Of course, I'm not going overboard. I'm doing stuff tomorrow, but a little drink to spend with you, my friend, and our viewers tonight. So if they have suggestions of what to drink next, because I have beer, I have wine, I have so.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll have a mixologist.
There you
kind
go.
of night. Okay, so we'll return here. It does look like the count has stopped a little bit in Canada, so we're at 60% there, and the margin's still just 244 votes between Karen McCrimmon and Sean Webster of the PCs, and Melissa Conrad is still right there in it. She's
right in it. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, right now she's about, 900 votes back or so, but it's only 3 points, and still a lot of votes to count here. So, and it does say the turnout now in Canada is up to 30. So
that's respectable. I think
in a by-election, you got to get over 30.
In a summer, too, in a July by-election, 30%, that's fine with me.
Yeah. In Scarborough, though, it's 15, which is rough. But this one also is pretty good. It's 553 vote margin for Andrea Hazel over Gary Crawford. And Thadsa Navanethan is at 27% for the NDP in third. So both of these are three-way races. And we got half the vote counted in Scarborough-Guildwood, but neither of them are close enough. Usually when you get 20% of the vote counted, you can say who's going to win. In both of these, especially in KANATA-CARLETON, we're going to have to wait until the end. This is
very interesting.
This is a question from Adam T. He says, I wonder if Jenna Sudds getting in the federal cabinet made a difference. I did notice, and I'm sure it's just a coincidence that had nothing to do with it. But there was a promotion for a Scarborough MP into the cabinet, and there was a promotion for a KANATA-CARLETON MP into cabinet the day before the by-elections.
The federal Liberals are not in the business of helping the ULP, so I think it's a pure coincidence. But the Ontario Liberals will take it.
Yeah.
Sometimes serendipity, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was that you had Mona Fortier, who was dumped from cabinet, which was a bit of a surprise. So they needed to find another Ottawa cabinet minister. It probably would have been Yasser Naqvi, maybe, if he wasn't running for the Ontario Liberals, the leadership. And then in Scarborough, they dropped. Who did they drop in Scarborough? No, they dropped someone in Toronto. They dropped Mendocino.
Yeah.
They dropped Carolyn Bennett decided not to run, so they needed to have another Toronto minister. But yeah, it is just an odd coincidence that on the day before the by-election. But as you said, I can't imagine that the federal Liberals would put somebody in a cabinet position for 2 years to help the Ontario Liberals win a couple of provincial by-elections.
Some of our listeners right now may have noticed in the last few days that the federal Liberals have other problems of their own. They have been polling poorly in July and in June too, So just for a second here, it seems like the counting has stopped. If you go on my blog, you will see the Léger poll that was unpublished until today. I leaked it today. It shows that
you're a leaker.
Oh no, I know. Well, I didn't leak it. I published it, but I was the leakee or whatever. Sorry.
You were the recipient.
Second language.
You were
recipient of the leak. It's a Léger poll, so it's not just a random polling firm. So a 9-point lead nationally for the Conservatives and 9-point lead in Ontario. This is very similar to what Abacus data released on Wednesday. And I will update the projections on Sunday as I always do. There will be a swing. There will be a major swing. This is a big swing.
Yeah.
So enough for a majority. I'm not sure. I will run it Saturday, so we'll see how it goes.
We got someone who's being insulting to us, so we'll get him out of here.
Bye-bye.
There we go. We don't like that. Be nice, everybody. Be nice.
Be nice. Be nice.
There's no reason not to be nice. And there was the Abacus poll for Ontario. Had the PCs at 41, and the Liberals at 24, the NDP at 23, more or less exactly the last election.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But what I noted here is that in the last election, the PCs narrowly won the vote in Toronto, but by 0.4, I think it was. But they had a 9-point lead for the PCs. But we're not seeing this in Scarborough right now because PCs are at 30%. So that's actually a drop of 1.5. It's actually a drop of nearly 2 points. Getting a question, what is the SNS? It is the Stop the New Sex Ed Agenda party. There's a lot of candidates in Scarborough.
Wait a second, really?
Yeah.
And he is fourth place, too.
Yeah,
beating the Greens, beating the New Blue, really? Okay.
Yeah, but I would point this to be it's a by-election. They probably get the same 386 people in a general.
Still a big family.
But well, they wanted to stop the sex ed agenda, so
there are many jokes to be made here. Let's be careful here.
We'll be nice. I guess I just said we should be nice. So 621 vote margin for Andrea Hazel of the Liberals over Gary Crawford of the PCs. And Thadsa Navanethan of the NDP is at 27.7% of the vote. So that's a jump of nearly 10 points, over 10 points for the New Democrats. We got one question there, what to make of the fact that the NDP is doing so well. They're up 5 points in KANATA-CARLETON, and they're up 11 points in Scarborough-GUILDWOOD.
What to make of that? Well, again, we always overreact to by-elections, so I have to be careful here. I mean, the NDP will take it to have two good performances. Maybe Miss Conrad, has been. I saw the photos. I know she's been shaking a lot of hands. Just ratisser la circonscription, as we say in French. So maybe she's showing the party that she's a better campaigner and she has a local effect. But it's still a by-election. So I think she's just guaranteeing that she will be the candidate next time around.
Yeah. Well, she's, like I mentioned, this is her fourth time. We did get one question whether, like, how this kind of relates to the federal results. These are pretty, I would say these are two ridings that kind of exemplify how there is a big difference between between the provincial and the federal, because KANATA-CARLETON has been won by the Liberals since 2015, but it's been won by the PCs and the Conservatives before that for a century. And then you have Scarborough-GUILDWOOD, where the Liberals get 60% of the vote, and in the last election they got 46, and the one before that they got 33. So, I wouldn't read too much into it in terms of the federal politics. Karen McCrimmon, she used to be, she's a retired Air Force colonel, and KANATA-CARLETON is not too far from the Petawawa base. If you live in the west part of the riding, you could commute to there.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I would say that I would imagine that she has some cross-partisan appeal in some of the rural areas. I do think that if she is able to win this, and she's still got a 252 vote margin right now, a lot of this I would chalk up to her. Because, Scarborough-GUILDWOOD, the Liberals are at 35%. That is still a drop of 11 points. Yeah, but a win is a win. I mean, a win is a win. I mean, if the NDP picks up 10 points and the PC remain around the 30% mark, a win is a win. But I see what you're saying, though. Something to go back to KANATA-CARLETON here. I mean, if Ms. McCrimmon wins this riding for the first time in 100 years, just give her the crown already. Make her leader. Make her the leader, right? She ran for the federal leadership against Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, she did. But yeah, Justin Trudeau in 2013, rock star. Yeah, she.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if she made it to the last. She made it to the end, but if she did, it was very low single digits. But hey, she ran in 2011 for the Liberals. Didn't win in that election, but she stuck around. She won in 2015, and now she's. If she can hold on here, again, just 252 vote margin, she's going to have a big spot in that caucus. But as someone mentions, not yet enough for official party status. They need to have 12, and with this one they'll have 9.
True. 12. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, 9 is better than 8, but yeah.
But it's also a race for, it's a race for second place here. I mean, the NDP and the OLP were essentially tied. I know the Liberals, I think, got 2,000 more votes in the general election, so it was tied. But who has the higher ceiling? It is the Liberals. Than the NDP. But depends who they choose as leader. But this is a gain tonight for Mr. McCrimmon. Again, 252 votes. Let's wait. But this is still a pretty good outing for them.
Yeah, it is a mixed bag, I guess, for the NDP, because they want every sign that the Liberals are done.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And any time that the Liberals should have any sign of life, the fact that their leadership race is getting so much attention when theirs didn't, because there wasn't one, no one ran against Merritt Stiles, they would rather that the PCs win Scarborough and maybe Karen McCrimmon doesn't, and then people, the Liberals still showing that they're not able to actually win, right? They can put up some good polls, but they can't actually win any votes. But
absolutely, if
they hold on to Scarborough and they win here in KANATA-CARLETON, that'll be a big one for them. If we do look, so okay, wait. So let's.
So just by the way, I googled SNS party, and it says Serbian Progressive Party or Slovak National Party. Nothing
not
about
that.
nothing about the sex thing.
That's
So,
This is what is provided by Elections Ontario. I'm sure it's not a Serbian party.
that's a Serbians in Scarborough.
Yeah, well, there might be. It is a very diverse riding.
It's true. That's true.
I looked it up. The stats: 76% of the people in the riding told Statistics Canada they were from a visible minority. So it's one of the most diverse in the country, if not the most. I'm not sure which one would be more than that, but yeah. So let's talk a little bit about like how everybody's doing. So the Liberals are up about 10 points in Canada, but they're down about 11 points in Scarborough. The PCs are down about 10 points in Canada, or about 11, but they're down about 2 in Scarborough. So they're not really making any headway here. And for the NDP, they're up about 5 points in Canada, and they are up about 11 in Scarborough. So by that measure, the Liberals more or less balance out, right? But like you said, a win's a win, so that'll make the biggest difference if they hold on. Her vote margin is now 316. But the NDP is going to average a gain of what? 8 points? 9 points?
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a surprising thing because we haven't seen any sign of this in the polls, right?
No, at all. And not just from that Abacus, just the string of polls that we have seen this spring and this summer. Nothing shows that the NDP is on the rise. They're not tanking either, but they're not moving. So
Yeah.
interesting. Again, local races, man. This is very, very interesting stuff.
Yeah. Well, KANATA-CARLETON especially is I think, a big local race here because of Karen McCrimmon. But then you do have Conrad, who's getting quite a lot of votes. She's up to 8,600 votes right now. And who's that behind you?
This is Shiva. This
Shiva.
is my oldest, my blue Russian. Look at her. Shiva, hello. So, good evening, Shiva. Everybody, this is Shiva. Shiva, this is everybody.
Yeah. Our cats are always making an appearance. Mersey wants to make an appearance. She's below me right now, but
She wants to, huh?
yeah, but I don't want her to pull out my mic again. So
Exactly. There was one episode that people who don't know here. There was one episode that Eric and I recorded together. The cat that jumped on the keyboard, I think, and pulled on the cord.
yeah,
So,
she jumped on my
very
lap
funny
and
stuff.
pulled out the microphone, and then everything stopped working. So I don't want to have that happen on a live thing because then I won't get it back on. She's going to do the same thing. So yeah. So anyway, people like Shiva.
Shiva's amazing. Thank you, people.
Yeah, she's good. Okay, so we're at 70% polls reporting in Scarborough. The turnout is only 18.5%, but it is 771 votes now. And it
This
just
is
jumped
getting
up to
close to
812.
this is getting close to being called there.
Yeah, I think Scarborough-Guildwood, we're leaning towards a call.
Yeah.
And KANATA-CARLETON, they're at 81%. So they got 10 polls left.
Yeah, the NDP is not going to pull it off now.
No, I don't think so.
1,200 votes away. Oh, I heard a meow. That's from your
Yeah,
side.
no, that's Mercy.
1,200 votes away from the NDP, but it's still a pretty good performance, Miss Conrad. But too close to call right now.
Yeah,
And,
it is still too close to call.
Wow.
But yeah, we're down to 10 polls left. And, it's hard to... How many votes do we have counted here? We have about almost 30,000. So 10 polls could still have a decent amount of votes. So we'd have to see, especially if they come from the rural areas, that could help Sean Webster. And then we have in Scarborough, we're still at 74% of the vote. We got, 16 polls left to report. And yeah, 812 votes. That one I think will be tough because we haven't seen a trend develop.
No.
Sometimes you see a candidate like continuously decreasing the margin, and it's because other parts of the ridings are starting to report. So Scarborough, it's starting to look like the Liberals are going to hold on to that one, despite some losses in support. This is going to be a big gain for them.
So, all right, say goodnight because she now is, she's rubbing against my mic. Sorry about that.
That's
there
all
you
right.
go.
She's really excited about these by-election results too. I think that's probably it. But so for KANATA-CARLETON, with the margin of just 328 votes, this could go down to the wire.
And as you said, the new Blue Party is 2% of the vote. It's not a lot, but that margin Right now, the new blue vote is bigger than the margin between the Liberals and the PC.
Yeah. Oh, and the margin just shrank. It's down to 320. So maybe it's going to keep being close. But yeah, you're right. You got 600 votes for the new blues. Now, would 320 of them have voted for the PCs if there was a new blue candidate?
Probably not, but they would lean towards. I mean, they would not vote for the NAP or the Greens, most likely.
Yeah.
The closest party would be the PC.
Yeah. And we see in the other riding, Danielle Height has, now she's biting my feet, 123 votes. So that's not enough to make the difference there. Or even the sex ed party people. She wants me to feed her. This is what's. It always happens at this time.
Well, you can go. I'll hold on for 2 minutes.
I'm not going to be held hostage. She's blackmailing me. This is extortion.
She is. This is. You're a tenant. You're just a tenant in her.
Yeah. Let her tell me what to do.
So hang on, just to make sure. The SNN party. They're for sex ed or against sex ed?
The name of the party is Stop the New Sex Ed Agenda.
Oh, they want the old sex ed.
Yes,
they prefer
it's more of a social conservative kind of group that doesn't want certain things taught to children, and they protest outside of schools and these.
Yeah, I saw them. Yeah, I saw
so
them.
that's what they are.
Charming folks.
Yeah. So and they're going to finish fourth, which is ahead of the Greens, which is not great for the Greens.
Were the Greens not campaigning at all? How do you get 1%? I mean. Yeah,
they had 2.8 last time. This is not a good riding for them. Look, the last couple elections, 2.8, 2.4, 2.9, 2.2.
Yeah.
So they do have trouble. Actually, these results are going to be very close to the by-election in 2013. In 2013, the Liberals got 36%, PC's got 31, and the NDP got 28.
Wow.
So maybe that's it.
There's something here.
Yeah, it's cosmic. There's something happening.
It was another time. So 2011, you said?
2013.
2013. Yeah. So Harper was in power. McGuinty was still there, or he was? No, he was gone. He was gone. It was Miss Win
by now. She won in the beginning of 2013.
That's right. Yeah. The Parti Québécois was in power in Quebec. I mean,
and I'm sure that had a big impact on the vote.
Long time ago. Long time ago.
All right, so we're still at 320 votes between Karen McCrimmon and Sean Webster. Sean Webster, interestingly, was a government and stakeholder relations person for Canopy Growth, which was for marijuana, cannabis. And I did get a question from someone from a podcast I did last week, whether you have Karen McCrimmon, a former Air Force colonel, and Sean Webster, who worked in the marijuana industry, and you do wonder if the more, salt of the earth rural folk who tend to vote for conservative parties might have liked Karen McCrimmon's background a little bit more. Could be.
That's interesting. So a pothead for the PC and a former soldier from
Well, he was involved in government and stakeholder relations. We don't know what his personal choices were.
I don't want to get sued. He's not a pothead. People. I'm just kidding. But yeah. But if you're in the marijuana business, you must like marijuana.
Presumably, right? Well, or at least well, I don't know if you have to like it, but presumably you're okay with it. I mean, everybody's going to make a paycheck. So, all right. So we have.
I think we can call it in Scarborough because it's close to 1,000 votes. There's very few votes left, unless we have boxes full of PC votes. The NDP did well. I see 26%. Is that correct? 26% for the NDP is a very respectable number. I think it would be safe right now, almost 80% reporting that the Liberals should hold on to Scarborough. The Canada, I'm not ready to call yet. It's too early. It's way too close.
Okay, I'll agree with you. We'll take a risk. 972 vote margin. We're going to call Scarborough-Guildwood for the Liberals.
There you go.
Pending more results. I don't think you can do that though. But yeah, KANATA-CARLETON still 320. It's holding 320. We got 85% of the votes counted, so we're only waiting on 8 polling boxes. Now, because this is the tabulators, I don't know if it matters how many people voted in them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure if it takes longer for the computer to tabulate these things. I'm not really sure how the process works, but yeah, this is going to be very quick. We're at 38 minutes since the polls closed, and we got most of the votes counted. It is an impressive system when it works.
Yeah.
When it doesn't work, then it's super long and really frustrating. There's been a couple times. New Brunswick had issues.
That's true. That
and-
was with much fewer votes to count. Let's be honest, and it was a pretty. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but when the machines screw up, then it really screws up. That's when people counting just gets faster.
But if we think back now, was the 2020 Conservative leadership campaign where the machine, I think, tore out the vote? Was that the worst that you witnessed as an analyst? Because I remember I was still in the Radio-Canada offices at 1, and I was called. It said, "Oh, it's probably going to be from 6 to 8:30," and it was 1 a.m. and they gave me like power bars, like chocolate bars.
Yeah.
So
I think the worst was the Ontario PCs in 2018.
because
that
we
took
didn't
all
know,
day.
and we didn't know who won. Yeah, it's
No,
true.
they sent everybody home because I think the story was that a wedding had been booked in the hall for the next day, and they need to start getting it ready.
And the balloons stayed there. The balloons stayed there.
Yeah,
Oh.
that was probably one of the worst. There's also,
That's funny.
do you remember the NDP with Tom Mulcair when he won?
Yep, in Toronto,
In
absolutely.
2012, that took a long time.
They had no computer security for some reason, and
Oh yeah, they got a DDoS denial of service
exactly.
attack. Yeah. Okay, so we do have one more poll counted, and the margin is still 323. So it is, I mean, that is tiny. I've got 9,821 votes for Karen McCrimmon, 9,498 for Sean Webster. But we're running out of polls here, so if she can hold on to this. It's been pretty consistent for the last few polls.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, but it is remarkable that the NDP is going to end up being at 30%. This is a real three-way race. This is not a riding that is a three-way race. It is
Usually not. Yeah.
and it's also like a mixed suburban rural riding. These are not ridings where the NDP does well. These aren't ridings. They're usually either PC or PC Liberal when there's a battle. So for the NDP to put up a number here, that's not too bad. It's pretty good.
I will have to adjust this projection here. Maybe, well, again, by-elections, we should not overreact, but it looks like I will have the Liberals and the PC pretty close within the margin of error. But the NDP, I had them at just below 20%. So they have 29. Yeah. So yeah, the NDP overperforming. The Greens I had at 8%. This is way too high.
Well, that would make sense, right? Because you have the Liberals that have gained right now 10 points,
Yeah.
a little bit over 10 points in KANATA-CARLETON. You have the PCs that have dropped
Yep.
about 11 points, so that's almost
Yep.
a 1-to-1. And then if you have the NDP, they're up right now about 5 points, and a lot of that does look like it came from the Greens. They took 5.5% of the vote. So, and it doesn't always mean that it's necessarily exactly people that.
Of
It's
course.
just a lot of it depends on the turnout, but it makes sense that way, right? That maybe the NDP is getting a lot of that green vote here, and they didn't need much more of it to really get into it. But even if all of that green vote had gone, they'd still be short. So they would have needed some numbers not to go to the Liberals. It does make you wonder what would have happened if Karen McCrimmon hadn't been the candidate here.
Well, they would have lost.
The Liberals would have lost, for sure.
Oh, they're for sure. I mean, with such a tight margin right now, for sure. Without Ms. McCrimmon, the Liberals are not even in this.
Yeah.
It's not too late for her to register for leadership, is it? Oh, I'm starting rumors here. I'm starting rumors.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure when that deadline passed. I don't know.
I think it's in September.
I think you might be right about that. So, but that would be
Let's
take
start that
some-
rumor.
Yeah.
Let's start that rumor.
Then she has to start raising money and all this kind of stuff, just like so that would be tough. But hey, good for her that she's going to be almost single-handedly winning this riding. Because as I mentioned, in Scarborough, the Liberals are down 10 points. So Andrea Hazel does seem to have been like a quality candidate in terms of her background and connection to the riding. But you kind of always assume a candidate's going to be decent, right? So she does, in a way, seem like a generic Liberal candidate in terms of being not someone who's bad that takes vote away, but not necessarily someone that's recognizable enough that brings new people to it. So if we use that as sort of the barometer that she's doing 10 points worse in Scarborough, but McCrimmon is doing 10 points better in Canada.
And if you apply, I know we should do this, but let's have fun here. If you apply this swing in the whole of Scarborough, this is bad news for the Liberals. I mean, they will probably hold on to this seat, but this is a place where they need to do well to win a general election. So,
and also you should remember that someone who did really well in Scarborough really recently was Olivia Chow.
That's true. Yeah, she did
So
well. Oh, yeah.
that wasn't that long ago. That was what was it, like a month ago? Yeah.
Yep.
So you had people in Scarborough voting for a progressive candidate known to be very orange, and maybe some of that is rubbing off on the Scarborough NDP, because they're doing pretty well right now. They're at 26.3%, so they're nearly matching how well they did in 2018. Which was a high water mark. And in KANATA-CARLETON, they're at 29.7, which is beating how they did in 2018. This is probably going to be one of their best results ever in KANATA-CARLETON. Because they didn't win this in 1990, right?
Interesting.
So it's an interesting result here. But you don't get points really for... They're still going to finish third in both these ridings.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have the map here, but... The Scarborough-Guildwood was the only Liberal seat in Scarborough, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Federally, they're doing... Yeah, okay. So
federally, they have all of them.
Yeah, all of them.
But yeah, this was the lone Scarborough riding. They did have chances in other ones. There was expectation they would win some of these other Scarborough ones, but it didn't come out. But yeah.
But a win is a win. You have to remember that. I know it's cliche and it's very sports like to say that in a show, but it's true that at the end of the day, if you win, it's all that matters. Yeah. And it seems like they stopped counting. What's happening? Those machines, come on, man. I want to see more results.
We're down to 6 polls, so I think they counted one more in Canada, and we're down to 6 in Scarborough. Scarborough's at 90%, so I think now that's very off. Now I think we can lock it in. Yeah. Andrea Hazel will be the next MPP for the riding of Scarborough-Guildwood, joining the small Liberal caucus in Queen's Park. But yeah, we got six polls now in KANATA-CARLETON. That's not going to be a huge amount because you look at how many people have voted in each of these polls. You're probably not looking at a huge amount of votes, right?
That's a 21% turnout. Oof, ouch.
Is that in Scarborough?
Yeah, that's
well,
pretty bad.
They cleared 20.
Eric, always the optimist, so.
Yeah, and 32 in Canada, that's better. Yeah. I'm not surprised, though, Scarborough. Like, if you live in a suburban riding, like, how aware are you that an election is taking place on your neighborhood but not in the street next to you?
In July during the vacations, Thursday. Those Thursday elections. Elections should be on Sunday or on Monday. Period. That's my law.
Monday or Tuesday, but not Thursday.
Is it BC that has them on Saturday now?
Yeah.
I kind of like that. Yeah, it's kind of the weekend. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it probably helps with turnout and all that kind of stuff, but. I'm not a huge fan. I like Mondays or Tuesdays, but it gives you the weekend to kind of get ready for it and all that kind of stuff. So.
The build-up, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. But anyway, so we're down to 6 polls in Canada. That hasn't changed. And we're on to 3 at Scarborough. So Scarborough's getting very close to being finished. They're at 95%. We're talking that the Liberals dropped 10 points, which they did. But they're still going to end up winning this by about 7 points over the PCs, which is still a pretty solid victory.
Yeah. It's a clear win. But that margin again, if they lose 10 points in Scarborough, in their best Scarborough, but the thing is, if Ms. McCrimmon wins, this is not what we're going to talk about tomorrow or the next day. It's going to be the Liberals picked up a seat they haven't won in 100 years. That's the headline, right?
That is the headline. If there is going to be, you said people are going to be talking about this. We'll see if they will. It is Ontario politics in the middle of July, but yeah, that is an important point. KANATA-CARLETON is, I think, the longest PC Conservative riding, because before it was the Conservatives, because the last time it wasn't won by someone who wasn't a Conservative, wasn't blue, was 1919, and that was the United Farmers. It wasn't even the Liberals. You probably have to, I'm not even sure if the Liberals would have won it before the United Farmers did. So, that just shows how much of an upset it is. Even if it is going to be pretty close, even if she was really well known, better known than the PC candidate, to flip a riding that's you haven't won in 100 years and more than 100 years.
That's something.
It is something. That's like flipping Ottawa Vanier. It's like flipping what's one of those in the island of Montreal that's sticks with the Liberals all the time.
Westmount. So yeah. I mean, although Québec Solidaire didn't win Verdun and Île des Sœurs, that was That was a huge shock. I
Yeah.
think the PQ won it once, and it's been 100 years of Liberal. But the Quebec Liberals, that's another story.
Yeah.
You think it's bad for the Ontario Liberals? Well, the Quebec Liberals would like to have a word. So.
Yeah. All right, we did get a couple more polls in, and the margin has grown to 389. And someone just did mention, the United Farmers of Ontario. You abbreviate that to
UFO.
And on today, of all days, to talk about UFOs again. This was the real news. I don't want to get into it, but
People.
I know you're like a space person, but
I'm not a space person. I'm an astrophysicist. I got my diplomas and everything, right? It's not aliens, people. It's not aliens. There are far more chances that it's just some drone that the army, the U.S. Army or the Chinese army is. It's not a UFO.
Yeah.
It's not aliens.
Yeah, all right.
Biology doesn't work like that. You would have to travel for. All right, so let's have a little trivia. Not a trivia here, but a comment while we're waiting for the. So if we take the fastest rocket that humans have built, it's the New Horizon rocket, all right? And we imagine that we can keep its highest speed constant. And we want to reach the closest star. How long do you think it would take? 1,000 years? 2,000 years? My friend, it would take 600,000 years. So
with our primitive technology, Philippe.
Yeah, so even if you reach a fraction of the speed of light,
What if you fold space?
That means
What
you
if
have
you
to
fold space?
That means you have to reproduce with your cousins for many generations, and then you get there, and the biology doesn't work. So
All right.
let's stop talking
Now
about
we're
this. But
talking
it's
about
not UFOs.
Now we're talking about Stop the Sex Ed Agenda Party again.
And Curtis, I'm not hiding aliens. I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It sounds like what you would say if you were in on it. I think that is pretty clear. Okay, so
New polls. All right, back to politics. Let's go.
yeah,
All right.
back to the secondary story, not this one that's going to impact us for the rest of our lives. 4 polls still waiting in KANATA-CARLETON, and we're down to 2 in Scarborough-Guildwood. So Scarborough-Guildwood is as good as done. So we were good to call it when we did. But yeah, I do think that these 4 polls are probably not going to deliver 389 votes margin to Sean Webster.
It's been very stable, huh? Yeah, it's been. Yeah. I guess the counting has been even out for the whole riding. Or
it'll be really interesting to see the poll by poll for KANATA.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because the last time when she won it as a federal MP, the KANATA polls were all red. There were some red polls around Constance Bay, which is a small community near the Ottawa River, and the rest of them were all blue. But the way the count is coming in, it almost seems like all of these polls are more or less the same, that they're all about 34, 33, 30, which is remarkable. If we end up seeing the poll by poll that the NDP was getting 25, 30% of the vote in Carp and some of these places that are pretty rural, that'll be pretty surprising. It is an interesting story. There are some people commenting that Melissa Conrad worked very hard. But as I mentioned, she has run here 4 times. This is her 4th run, and it's her best one. I do think it is going to end up being her best one.
Just under 30, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Good for her.
So yes, but we are getting pretty close to KANATA-CARLETON being called.
And now people are talking about folding space in the comments. Eric, what have you done? Eric, what have you done?
I'm telling people the truth. I'm not part of big space.
Space.
Or whatever. You and your ivy towers trying to control what us little people...
Space gatekeeper.
What us arts majors can think of and dream of, unlike you... anyway, so we'll get back to politics here. So anyway, yes. Okay, we got some more polls. 640 vote margin now for Karen McCrimmon. It's starting to look pretty bad for Sean Webster. I don't think he's going to pull it off. It's still going to be a pretty close win, but as you said, a win's a win in a riding that the Liberals haven't won for 100 years.
Oh, they'll take it, absolutely.
I wonder who's going to take I wonder if any of the leadership candidates are going to take some credit for this. They're going to try. 3
boxes left and 640. That was a really good poll.
Yeah, that was a big one.
There.
And maybe that's something, though, that should make us second guess, right? Her margin just jumped by 300 votes. So maybe these are big polls that are coming in. Maybe these are the ones from KANATA, though. And if it's the ones from KANATA, we might see her vote jump pretty significantly over the next little while. So we might as well stick around for these last 2 polls to be counted, because We're only at 2 in Scarborough that are waiting, and we're at 3 in KANATA-CARLETON, and we got 6 minutes till 10 o'clock, so we might still be able to finish by 10. We'll see.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're waiting for 3 more. And people who are enjoying this live stream because we're talking about space.
You know what? We should talk about space. This is what matters, because we're just little souls on this planet, on this wet, dusty grain going around this star. All of this doesn't matter. So that the lesson here is be nice to others, and love your life, and be nice, and love numbers, and be with us on the live stream. That's what matters.
We should all stick together, because one day we're going to have a common foe.
Oh, absolutely.
In another planet.
No, the sun.
No, not the sun. Unless they make a Dyson sphere around the sun. And then,
Dyson sphere. Oh God, I love that.
Yeah.
Now you're talking.
Now we should just do a live stream once about space, because I have questions. I have questions.
I've been a teacher now, teaching at my college it's my 20th year. So I think I've heard it all. So you could bring it on, and we'll see if I can manage. But
yeah. No, I'll teach you some things. Don't worry about it.
Oh, absolutely. No. Yeah. You got wisdom.
Yeah, that's what I have. Okay.
Are we calling it? 3 boxes left. Nah,
we got 1 left in Scarborough, so that one's done.
Yeah, that one's done.
Canada, I don't know. I feel like we can call it, because she just did. But I mean, if 1 poll can change the margin by 300 votes, then 3 polls can change it by 900.
Let's check the next box. We call it.
Yeah.
Unless okay.
Okay.
Why do we call it polls in English? It's a box. It's a ballot box, right?
They're polling districts. I don't know why.
But a poll is this is very confusing to me, because a poll, of course, is a statistical thing, that we discuss, and then there's the poll at the polling booth.
But a poll is it's polling people.
It's a fraction of the huge sample of the general.
No, opinion, like a poll is like a public opinion poll.
Yeah.
But polling people, this is how you would poll people before. You just got people to actually vote. So like the word doesn't mean survey. It means going out and asking people what they think. But yeah.
Is it okay if I call it box? It's a vote box.
Yeah, sure. It's a ballot box. We say ballot box.
There you go. Ballot box.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so we're waiting on 3 ballot boxes. We're waiting on 3 polls, and we're waiting on just 1 in Scarborough. So why don't we put Scarborough to bed?
Yeah, it's over.
So
Liberal hold.
Hold. They dropped 10 points. The PCs dropped 2. That's to me the biggest surprise. Because Gary Crawford was supposed to be a star candidate who could win this for the PCs. He's well known in the Scarborough area. There was the story that came out just a couple days ago that he resigned his councillor seat, and because of that got $120,000 severance pay, which he would not have had access to if he had gotten another office. Maybe that sapped him a little bit. I mean, it's his due. He's owed it, I guess. But I don't begrudge. But that might have hurt. But the fact that they're down 2 points there in a riding that they could have won. Is not good. And then the NDP up 10 points in Scarborough. If I'm the NDP, I wasn't expecting much tonight. I'd be happy with that.
The NDP holds they hold 1. They have Southwest, I think, in Scarborough.
Yeah, I think so.
So and they didn't do really well in Scarborough in the general election, but looking at this, perhaps they do have a base that's motivated. But again, we're 3 years away from the general election. This is just a little candy for tonight, but it doesn't mean much in the long run when you lose. So
yeah, because they're still going to end up finishing behind the Liberals in both of these ridings, right? Which is it's going to be hard for them to get around that. But they came close to finishing second in both of these. For the PCs so they're down in Scarborough, which is, I think, just a really poor result for them. And then in KANATA-CARLETON, they're down about 11 points.
That's pretty big. Yeah, it's the candidate. It's the candidate, for sure. Yeah,
because the Liberals got,
24%, 23%.
They got 23, and the last time, 2014, 2011, 2007, the riding boundaries were a bit different. They would usually get between 32, 34% of the vote. Mm-hmm. So in a way, they're getting back to that kind of base that they were at in the McGuinty win years. But the difference is that the PCs are dropping quite a bit. The NDP picked up a lot of it, but it probably wasn't that kind of transfer from one candidate to another. But it's surprising for the PCs that they're doing this poorly when polls have been pretty good for them.
Yeah. I have a question. Ali says, what's in French? Scrutin. Scrutin is the right answer. Les boîtes de scrutin. So we say box in French. Boîte de scrutin for district polls. Or whatever. I'm losing my English right
ballot
now.
box, but
Ballot box. I said ballot box. But des boîtes de scrutin.
Yeah.
And I was asked also, where do I teach? I teach at Collège de Saint-Laurent in Montreal. You can Google it. You'll find me easily. So if you want to register for my class, you're welcome. So.
Can adults go to CEGEP?
Absolutely. As you can be a free student. You have to be in Montreal, obviously, but yeah. So introduction to astronomy this fall. It's astronomy for everybody except science students. So no math. I teach the astrophysics, which has lots of maths, but I also teach this general class. It's tons of fun. So.
Okay. Well, that sounds fun. We got one more poll report that came in. We're still at 679.
Oh, Scarborough is over, huh?
And Scarborough's done. All right.
100%.
So we got our final results. We got 36.6% for Andrea Hazel. She will be the next MPP there. Gary Crawford, 29.6%. That's a drop of about 2 points for the PCs. Thadja Navanethan takes 26%. He's up about 10 points. And then we have the other candidates. The Greens took 1%. The New Blues took 1%. The Sex Ed Party took 3%. And it goes on and on. And then, here in KANATA-CARLETON, we got two poll boxes waiting, 679 vote margin. I do think Karen McCrimmon is going to end up winning this.
Looks like it, huh?
Unless there's some... You okay to wait for these last two, assuming they come pretty quick?
Oh yeah. I have time. I mean, it would be stupid for us to go with only two boxes left. I mean, what if that lead gets cut down to 300 or something?
Yeah.
So, but it's still two boxes, almost 700 votes. Yeah, I think she's got it. Wow.
We got some other questions. There's CCP. This is a party that is the
It's communist,
Choice
right?
Party. No, that would be
no.
the old one, but it's Paul
Okay.
Fromm who's running, who is well known as a. There's a Wikipedia page on him. You can check him out. He's a white supremacist. So there you go.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
lovely.
And very well known in Canada for it. So he didn't get a lot of support. Let's just say that. That's
Good for him.
Yeah, that's good.
So, and 508 people voted for the Stop the Sex Ed, so I guess the sex ed will go on, right?
Yes, it won't stop. It will continue. So, yeah.
What about advanced poll? Advanced polls in French is le vote par anticipation.
Did you see what they're doing in Saskatchewan? They're
What are they doing in
They're not
Saskatchewan?
calling it advanced polls anymore. They're now calling it an election week.
So you can vote for the whole week?
They have it so that you can vote in like 5 of the 7 days, but rather than pretending that one is an advance poll and one is an election day poll, they're just calling them all election week, and that the last day of the election week is the election day on August 10th for their by-elections, which I think is an interesting approach.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, the more people can have access to voting, for me, it's good for me.
Yeah,
we
and
have to get that.
And in the old days, you had to have a reason to vote in the advance poll. Like, you couldn't just be like, I felt
remember
like
that.
it. You had to go and be like, I'm going to be gone or whatever. But nowadays, in the advance poll, you can sometimes get 30, 40% of the people voting in them. So they're not really an advance poll anymore. They're just, they're almost the poll, right?
We say advance box.
Yeah.
Come on, let's count those two boxes. Let's go. Come on, we can do it.
Those bots, let's get them counted.
By the way, there were some comments about my face right now. It looks red. I realize it's not the lighting. Just before we went on, I went on my on a run, and I'm never going to do that again because I look red. So I look like a lobster. So
No, you look tanned. I mean, I'm always very pale, so that's sort of my thing. Okay, so yeah, like, how much of this, like, you look at the New Blues, they got 634 votes. They're now no longer in the position where they cost the PCs this win.
they're
There's
not.
a margin 679, and the New Blues fell to 634. But at some point, they had twice, their support was twice the margin.
Yeah.
If that would have happened, I wonder what we would have been saying.
I really doubt that Doug Ford, perhaps unlike Poilievre, on La Pierre Poilievre, I don't think Doug Ford wants to court the, I don't want to say the far right, but the further right. Let's be honest here. Whereas, the federal conservatives, they just had some great polls, some great publicity. We know the true liberals are in trouble right now. And still today, they tweeted their, this person was for the vaccine mandates. It's like, okay, quit it already. I don't think Mr. Ford is like that.
Yeah.
Losing 2 or 3% to a fringe party, the PCs have shown that they don't need those votes to win, right? So
if you listen to Corey Tonight on Curse of Politics podcast, he's always talking about this, how they don't bother going after these folks, that they think a lot of them are not voters and wouldn't vote for them anyway. They would just stay home. Yeah. And he makes a point, which isn't, overstates it maybe, but that a lot of these are actually, more of alternative kind of people, right? So that a lot of votes actually came from the Greens. And it is true that if you look at the People's Party, if you look at some of it did come from the Greens. I think the second party that they took votes from away the most was the Green Party.
Yeah.
So you can imagine that if you're someone who thinks in alternative medicine or something, you might be against vaccines. But Tonight always makes the point that they're not. It's not worth it. Like that, they kicked out a lot of the people from their caucus who were against this stuff. That the amount of people that they kept on board were not worth the amount of people that they put off, right? So we're not seeing that with the federal conservatives, because we saw it in the Portage-Lisgar by-election.
Yeah.
Going after those PBC voters, with the tweet you're highlighting, which was the new Mississauga cabinet minister, who 2 years ago said she was in favor of the vaccine passports during the federal election.
Yeah, they're really liquidating the 2021 election. I don't think that's the path forward, but
it is a weird thing to do on a day that was on a week where they have some good polling numbers coming out. So we'll see. So we're still waiting on these two from KANATA-CARLETON. They had more to vote. They had more to count. So the final turnout in Scarborough-Guildwood was 22%.
78% did not bother voting. Wow.
Yeah. Well, they just voted a month ago.
Again with the optimist. It's a municipal election. Come on.
And what was the turnout? It wasn't that good either.
No, it was in the 30s, I think.
Yeah. I don't know what. I'm not sure who's to blame for this kind of stuff. Like, there's only so much that Elections Ontario can do to get people interested in voting. It's more of a national problem. You know what I mean? It's like a thing that everybody's got to do better at to get people to want to vote.
And in KANATA-CARLETON, I see right now it's just under 35% turnout. Okay, this is respectable. Yeah. But look at the votes. It's really close. There's 2,500 votes between the third place and first place. Yeah. And so maybe if you're at home and you're unhappy that Miss McCrimmon might win, well, 65% people didn't vote. So this is a lesson. If you're not happy that the Liberal won KANATA-CARLETON for the first time in 100 years, maybe you should have voted. There you go.
That's because, I mean, you're looking at 65% of the people are not voting, which is probably going to be around 60,000 people.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there was a lot of PCs among those 60,000. Because the turnout last time, I can't remember what it was, but it was at least in the 40s in KANATA-CARLETON. So, you're still looking at some people who didn't vote in this that voted just in 2022. There is you still got to go out and vote when it comes down to it. 35% in a summer by-election is not too bad, but there's a problem in Ontario with there's a question here if it was the lowest turnout ever in a provincial by-election. If you can think of one, the one I'm thinking of is Fort McMurray, which was Fort McMurray, Cold Lake. I think it was the name of the riding at the time. And I think turnout was 11 or 14 or something very, very low like that.
I think the recipe for a extremely low turnout is uncompetitive race, huge rural riding, and uncompelling people. So Fort McMurray, I mean, I think I know who won that by-election. So
Think you can guess? Yeah.
14% turnout.
I think it was something like that. Yeah,
Wow.
it was really, really awful. A lot of the northern ridings have a lot of difficulty getting high turnout. And in some cases, as we saw with, I think, the federal election, there is some blame to go to the electoral authorities not to put enough polling boxes in places to make it easier for people to get access to voting. But in a place like Scarborough, is just a small riding. There's no excuse, I don't think, that you couldn't get to the polling box in time. Like, there is a lot of opportunities to vote, and especially in Ontario, I think you can almost vote. In the federal, you could vote more or less from the beginning of the campaign. I remember I voted just on some random day.
Yeah, exactly.
So, not much excuse.
While we're waiting for those last two boxes in Canada-Carleton, let's just jump in because we're talking about the turnout in by-elections. There's something really funny in Quebec. In Quebec City, the by-elections usually get over 50%. Rest of Quebec and Montreal, we've seen normally between 25 and 35%, but we've seen by-elections in Quebec City over 50% of turnout. And there will be a by-election in Quebec City probably this fall or late this fall. Jean Talon is going to be hotly contested between the CAQ, the Parti québécois, and Québec solidaire. I don't think the Liberals are in it. We're going to have to, you and I scheduled a live stream together to talk about this one further because it will be a high turnout and it will be a very tight election. So
but you know what? We'll have competition. I wouldn't be surprised if Radcan and LCN do an election night show. You don't think so?
They won't. Not a by-election. They won't do that. It's too local. Well, they haven't before. So, and if they did, I'll probably be invited, and I'll be with my phone here chatting with you. Promise.
Thank you.
Go.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. No, that'll be a good one. Yeah.
Those last two boxes, I think they're counting by hand. So.
Yeah, I think these are being delivered by ox and cart.
Pigeon. There you go.
Yeah. There are a couple of by-elections coming up. There's one in Nova Scotia, in Preston, which is another interesting riding. Could be a three-way race there between the PCs, the Liberals, and the NDP. And then there's three by-elections. Oh, we got one more poll. We got one left, 630 vote margin still. So I think we can probably count this now.
She lost 40 votes in that box, and there's only one left?
Yeah. She's going to win.
So we waited until 98% were counted, and now we're calling it.
Yes.
No, very confidently, Liberal gain in Canada-Carleton. There you go.
Yeah, a good night for them. I think their overall vote share is probably not going to be that good in terms of, I think they're going to more or less come out even. The PCs are going to be down in their vote share, and the NDP is going to be up quite a bit. Wow. It's going to be a big night for the Liberals. And just to finish my thought, Saskatchewan, 3 by-elections on August 10th, 2 in Regina, 1 in a rural riding. The 2 in Regina will be interesting to watch because they were pretty close last time. So.
I think so, yeah. Are we doing a live stream for that? Are we calling it, or we will see?
I have to look to see what time it'll be, and we'll see.
Oh, that's true, huh?
We'll see. I don't know. Those folks out west, they have their own time zone and everything. All right, we're done. 53 for 53. Karen McCrimmon will be the next Liberal MPP for the riding Canada-Carleton. We called it early, just minutes ago.
we called it with one box left. There you go.
Yeah. And this is the first defeat for the PCs and the Conservatives before them in 100 years in this riding. So
that's your headline.
That's it. Riding, first time in a century. It's like one of those one in a century events that takes place.
How much do you think the Ontario Liberals will overreact to this?
I don't know, what's the scale? If it's a 0 to 10, it's going to be like 100.
15, yeah. Exactly.
No.
Because they will tweet Liberal sweep. That's their headline.
That is true. Liberal clean sweep of the by-election.
There you go.
Yeah. And there are some serious questions there. PCs. Why weren't they competitive in Scarborough? And how could they lose this riding in Canada? Their polls have been fine. Doug Ford's approval ratings, aren't great right now, but they're still okay. Yeah. And we have seen polls where they're still up in the high 30s, low 40s. They just didn't They did not deliver tonight, that's for sure.
You said earlier, Eric, that the threshold for official party status is 12. Wasn't that changed like when Doug Ford came in? Because I believe it was 8, right? Now the Liberals would be an official party with 9 seats.
But this is back though when the Queen's Park had 107 seats. So when they jumped to 121 or 24, then they increased that. I don't really see why. To me, if you got 2 seats, you're an official party. If you got 1 seat, maybe not. But hey, you're 2 people. You're on the same party. It's a party. What do you? Look at this. 2 of us. This is a party. We're having fun.
We're having a party, and I'm finishing my vodka here. Hey, people, thanks for being with us tonight. Very appreciate that. We didn't answer many questions. I try to follow as we go along, but last call for questions.
If you got any more, we'll stick around for a couple more minutes at most, just to see if there's any questions. But yeah, I got to say I'm pretty surprised. I'm surprised, one, that the Liberals actually pulled it off, and 2, that the PCs were not really in it at all. Like Scarborough-Guildwood wasn't very close. The PCs didn't increase their vote, and the NDP
did well,
competitive in by-elections when they had no reason to be. These are weird by-elections. What's the narrative here? Is there a narrative?
The thing is, the Scarborough thing with 22% turnout, not even 22% turnout. I mean, yeah, the NDP did well, but you look, they had 4,000 votes, the NDP, right? I see here, 4,000 votes. What was it in a general election? It was 4,800 votes. So
still lost some votes.
So, I mean, everybody lost votes because the turnout was low. So I'm not sure. But in Canada-Carleton, the NDP result is, I think, more impressive. This is not a riding that I was expecting the NDP to do well. But as you said, Madame Melissa Conrad, is that what we say? Conrad?
Yeah. Conrad,
it's, when you run again and again, probably you're being liked more and more. People are more comfortable with you. Almost 30% of the vote. This is respectable. 9,500 votes. That's pretty good.
We got a couple questions here, and then we'll round it up. One of them was, "What's the best bagel in Montreal?" Is it Saint Viateur? They always say it is, but I don't think it is.
Well, the thing is, Saint Viateur is such it's tough to beat. This is what I usually get because I can walk from my home to there. I haven't tried that many others, but don't get me that Metro or IGA stuff because this is poison. This is an insult to my culture. But I would say the Saint Viateur, but I'm open to suggestions, of course.
I like the Kettlemans here in Ottawa. They're pretty good. They're Montreal style, but they're good. No, you don't want those big New York ones. Like, what the hell is that? It's like a donut. Who knows?
Yeah.
We also had a question here. I think Kyle just wanted us to say nice things about Kitchener Centre and the green shot there in the next by-election. We'll see. We'll see.
Oh, it's true. There's going to
there is going to be one in the next 6 months, I guess. And what else do we got? How about this one? Is this the beginning of the end for the PCs?
Oh, no. Is this a bad night? It's an ordinary night, we say en français, une soirée ordinaire. It's like lukewarm. It's not that great. It's a bad night, but it's not an awful night. They were close in Canada-Carleton against a really good Liberal candidate. But you look at the numbers, the PCs still benefit from a deeply divided vote. Until I see one of the two, the Liberals or the NDP, reaching into the 30s, and until I see that, the Doug Ford and the PCs will stay in power. So I know a second term is much harder than a first term. Perhaps when we get closer to 2026, those numbers will change. But right now, it's this is still a battle for second place. Let's be honest.
Yeah, if I was the PCs, I would just take this as a reminder that they can't take it for granted that they can continue coasting and winning easily. They ran a good campaign, a disciplined campaign in 2022, and that's one of the reasons why they won. But they don't have enough right now. I don't think they have enough enthusiasm, enough base support that they can just kind of count on winning by-elections because people aren't going to vote for anybody else. So
and one more thing, and I know NDP fans in the audience will not like this, but the real threat to the PCs is the Liberals. It's not the NDP. Sorry.
And the PCs, I think that too, especially if it ends up being... They seem to be more afraid of Bonnie Crombie. And if I was the NDP, I'd be afraid of Nate Erskine-Smith because I think he could eat into their vote. But a lot of it will depend on just whether people like these new leaders. And if they don't like them, Doug Ford is going to still look pretty good, I think, in 2026 if he still wants to run. If he's not a member of Pierre Poilievre's cabinet or something by then, we'll see. Wow.
You heard it
Yeah.
first.
All right, I think we'll close with that. So thanks everybody for watching. We got a win for the Liberals in Scarborough-Guildwood, a win, an upset in KANATA-CARLETON, first in 100 years. Low turnout by elections, but still pretty interesting in the results, three-way races. And I thank you all for joining us. And thank you, Philippe.
Fait plaisir. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Thank you everybody. Have a great night.
All right.